If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Picture this. People hanging and falling off of the White House lawns, climbing the walls to get to the White House. This is America. Don't get you slipping. This is America. God bless America. Let's get to it. Story number 1. The environment got some help from COVID-19. One headline in the BBC points out that the U.S. emissions saw its biggest fall since World War II. Now, apparently, with energy consumption down, pollution was also down. This report highlights another report that stated that for the first time in 5 years, U.S. gas mileage was also down and emissions are also down as well. So with the gas mileage down, the emissions into the atmosphere are down as well. So that's why this story made it in this week. World Health Organization sets to visit in Wuhan, China, to investigate the coronavirus. So inside of story number 1, you see things kind of compacting up with the environment as people are starting to see what's happening. This is where we've reached the climax, and now we're working our way down to the resolution of COVID-19. Big headline. Big developing news story. Story number 2. Some states are seeing a mass exodus. People are leaving. New York and California are just 2 of a handful of states making headlines because many are fleeing these states to seek better opportunities in other states. Now, high taxes along with other higher cost of living are causing residents with a lot to offer to flee to other states. So this story is still developing. That's why I made it to the top 8 this week. People are going somewhere else to live for a better opportunity and a cheaper way of living. Keep an eye on story number 2. That's why I made it in this week. Story number 3. Is disinformation a factor in what's causing extreme riots? Disinformation. Now, a long, in-depth article in The Atlantic points out some key cause and effects points when troubleshooting the factors causing extreme riots, protests, storming the White House. Now, the article points out how social media platforms and other misinformation factors are causing extreme protests and riots. The article is titled, "We Try to Warn You," and points out the links between online misinformation and current events. Now get this, YouTube is apparently cracking down on videos reporting disinformation according to multiple sources. So it's basically saying like, we just stormed the White House for what? Big headline. Big developing news story. Story number 4. New reports are surfacing claiming that China already won the trade war. One article in Bloomberg points out how China already won the trade war and apparently Americans are paying for it. This is even before the coronavirus hit, which led to the steepest economic downturn since the Great Depression. COVID-19 not only helped the Chinese rebound, but the trade wars brought on by Trump helped their economy even more, because once China got the virus under control, demand for medical equipment and work from home gear expanded its trade surplus, even with the levies brought on by the United States. Now, after shrinking in 2015 and 2016, China's exports grew each year after Trump took office. Trump also said that United States companies would be forced to come back to America, but nothing has happened yet. U.S. direct investments into China also increased from $12.9 billion in 2016 to $13.3 billion in 2019. This data was referenced in the article from Radium Group. Now, the article also points out the fact that Trump said China was going to pay the tariffs, but economists found out after further review that Chinese exporters generally didn't lower prices to keep their goods competitive after the tariffs were imposed, which means that the U.S. must foot the bill for its own companies and consumers, if that makes sense. Now, companies that that account for 80% of U.S. exports had to pay higher prices for Chinese imports. So if you put this all together, China apparently won the trade war and Trump is on his way out of office. So we've kind of dug ourselves into a deeper ditch if you get this story. That's why story number 4 made in this week. Well, those are our top 4 stories that made in. I'll be right back with the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. So don't go anywhere. You're the Mediator with me, Brian West. I'll be right back. If you want to check out the stories that almost made it in or did make it in, go to our Twitter feed on our website. Check out everything. All of the sources are there. And go to the website. It's method8inc.com. Method8inc.com where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. I've been to the mountaintop. I have a dream that one day every American will have a good job, get school free lunches, and I'll tell you, I have a dream today. Woo! Let's get to it. Story number 5. Trump mania is real and may have been brewing before he even got elected. Now, after Trump supporters stormed the White House, many saw these events unfold that may have been brewing before Trump was even elected. Now, there have been revelations circulating in what I call the underground news market. Now, this has been circulating for quite some time through numerous new outlets labeled with the term conspiracy theorists, but promoted to be truth seekers. So they're called conspiracy theorists, but they are promoted to be truth seekers. Now, some of these people have been to Bohemian Grove, so this story is still developing now because all of the stuff that they were talking about over the years in the underground media market on radio, on YouTube, is starting to come out full-fledged right now. The climax is being reached. So whatever it has been going on in Washington, even before Trump was elected, is now being revealed to the masses. Now, this story is definitely a story to keep an eye on in the upcoming weeks because analysts are all over it. Now, a report in CNBC says that some Republicans received death threats for opposing Trump. Now, one freshman GOP lawmaker went on the record saying that he received death threats for voting to uphold the November election results. So even with the people saying that they want the election overturned, there's still opposition from people who say just keep it the way it is. But there's a lot happening as people are trying to say that the elections were rigged and all this other craziness that's come along with Trump losing. So keep an eye on story number 5. That's why it almost made it to the top stories this week. Now, Trump's job approval rating has also took a huge hit after a breach at the Capitol, and now they're calling for him to be impeached even in his final days in office. This is a big story that has been making a lot of headlines, and that's why story number 5 made it this week. Big headline, big developing news story. Whew. Story number 6. Some American civilians may be making active duty members' jobs even harder. Now, from white supremacists to kneeling on global television for the national anthem, to riots, to storming the Capitol, some Americans have really put a strain on the defense budget with so many domestic issues. I mean, we can't get along. Can't we all just get along? Now, active duty members are being raped. This is military members. Some committing suicide, some killed, some taken as prisoners of war, some even in their own countries, and many are not even discharged from the military at 100% health when their job is done. People magazine reported that one soldier was found dead in her barracks on New Year's Eve by another serviceman who, I guess she was raped by another serviceman who she kept complaining about that was allegedly raping her before. So this is bad news, big headlines. Now, there was a report that a sailor also, this is actually on a better note, and actually I'm glad he made it home, but there was a report that a sailor made it home for the birth of his first child. So if you thought the job was easy, being on active duty, I don't think you could ever be paid enough or to be given enough credit for being in the service. And when the ships come home and it docks, Whoever is in the port is who you'll be looking for and who you'll probably be spending the rest of your life with those care packages. So keep an eye on story number 6. That's why it made it in this week. Some American civilians may be making active duty members' job even harder. Big headline. Big developing news story. Story number 7 in the top 2 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Homeland Security may be facing a different challenge in 2021. The FBI reported threats of multiple major terrorist cells, including some on Capitol grounds. After a major attack on Capitol grounds and numerous grievances, not just from the left but from the right also, the confusion may be in the fact that two sections of society, these are two sections of society that have been at it for a while. They have opposing views and may just have a hard time comprehending what each other's objections are, while they also are lacking some mediation. Let me clear this out for you. There's two sides of America that just can't seem to get along, and maybe there needs to be some middle ground where people just kind of calm things down. Now, one question lingers in all of the chaos is that what does Trump supporters and his people, what do they know that other Americans don't know? So there's two sections of Americas. Is there just an informed section and an uninformed section? Or are there people who just want to have fun and people who just want to get things done? So these two sections of America seem to be going at it the most. And that's why story number 7 made it to the top 2 this week. U.S. puts Cuba back on the list as state sponsors of terrorism. This is another big headline. This week, USA Today reported that at least 25 people are under investigation for terrorism in connection with the Capitol riots. It's not good news. ProPublica has a headline stating that because of weak laws, domestic terrorism is becoming an urgent threat. People within the own homeland causing an uprising. Why? Big headlines. Now, to make matters even worse, explosives were found at the RNC and DNC, according to a Fox News report. So all these stories are compiled in one big headline, and that's why they made it in this week. Finally, one new hard-to-believe fact is that the majority of America's current problems were already solved if you read about America's history. So the big question is, why are old wounds being opened? Now, to sum this up, is that all of this had already happened years ago. There's been paperwork filed, peace agreements, treaties. So what is everybody complaining about? Last headline that made it in this week. To help unite the country, activists are calling for the Black National Anthem to become America's hymn. So all of this stuff from years of the past history, old wounds being opened back up, all balled up into one top story, story number 7. Story number 8, and the top lucky number 8 ball international headline and developing news story that made it this week. Americans are still struggling, win, lose, or draw, from both political parties, no matter who's in office. One report says that fewer than 4 in 10 Americans can pay for an emergency $1,000 expense, even with stimulus help. The article doesn't hold back the fact that minority families are getting it the worst inside of this pandemic. Big headline. Maryland's governor proposes a $1 billion economic relief bill for the people of Maryland in need, trying to show a little love. A Fox News headline reads that a Florida nurse, the owner, stole $420,000 in COVID-19 relief funds and embezzled the money. It goes on to say that instead of paying his employees, the nurse paid off his credit card bills, made mortgage payment, child support payments, and car payments with the money. Bad news. NBC News reports that less than half of Chicago school teachers showed up for the first day of school, for the first day of the school's reopenings. That's bad. That's real bad. America might be in decline right now. ProPublica reports that a lender sued thousands of lower-income Latinos even while inside of the pandemic. The headline concludes by stating that the lenders now aspire to be a national bank. But we got to fight on, baby. Woo-wee! U.S. employers cut 140,000 jobs in December, according to an NBR report. You didn't hear that from me. I'm giving you good news. The love is still alive, baby. One Fox News headline reads that a family claims that their landlord moved into their backyard and was living in a tent. If it's still, is probably still living in the backyard. Like I said, I'm giving you the good news. There's still love in the air. There's still love, a lot of love in mediation. Ooh, I'm spicy, baby. Well, those are our top 8 international headlines, local and developing news stories that made this week. I hope you got something out of today's program. I always get something out of doing the research. As usual, I'd like to thank all the news outlets, the people on the front lines, the journalists, the media. You deserve all the credit. I'm just the middleman, the mediator. Well, if you want to show us some more love, all you have to do is visit the website on the screen or wherever it's at down there. Buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program or whatever you want to do. Watch something, do what you got to do. Well, I am out of here. I'm going to look at 200 or more stories to get ready for next week. I want to thank you for tuning in this week to The Mediator with me, Brian West. Have a good week, everybody. Peace.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.